Well, a very pleasant, good day to everyone, wherever life may have you, and welcome to our first ever USA Hockey Virtual Happy Hour, powered by Labatt Blue. I'm Dave Fisher here at USA Hockey headquarters in Colorado Springs, and what's been a beautiful but chilly November day, and we're really pleased to bring this exclusive adult member benefit to all of you, and you are the best part of USA Hockey, and this is a fun benefit to enjoy some time together during this happy hour, have a couple of adult beverages during our time together, and also have a chance to interact with a couple of great American hockey legends that we have with us tonight. So without further ado, let's bring them forward. First, I'd like to welcome in someone that played in two Olympic Winter Games for us, including a seminal moment on the women's side. She was part of the gold medal team in the 1998 Olympics. Of course, that was the very first time women's ice hockey was contested in the Olympics in Nagano, Japan. She also was part of our silver medal team in 2002 in Salt Lake City, Utah. 3 silver medals in the World Championship. Of course, we all get the great pleasure now to see her on the NHL and NBC regularly in the booth commentating on games. I think everyone knows she was the first female ever to call an NHL playoff game. And of course, Olympic broadcasting, AJ too, with 4 Olympic games in the booth. And little known fact, probably 1 summer games too, right?
That's right. That's right. I did field hockey for Rio in 2016.
Field hockey.
Well, cheers, Fish. Cheers, and thanks for having me. I'm excited for this, and hope there are some easy questions and the hard questions for your other guest.
Well, speaking of our other guests, let's bring him in too now. Another one of American hockey legends, 18 years in the National Hockey League, 500 plus goals. That still, it's hard, comes out of your mouth. 500 goals in the NHL. Not many people have done that. Matter of fact, Keith Tkachuk is still the only American-born player to ever lead the NHL in a single season in goals. 96, 97, I think he had 52, Walt. And I say American-born. I know a lot of people think Brett Hull is American, and he was born in Canada, certainly part of our American national team program, but 500 plus goals. And of course, what a career on the Olympic stage too, 4 Olympic games. One of only 2 American men to play in 4 Olympic games. And of course, talking about AJ's seminal moment, you were part of a seminal moment too. 1996, the U.S. won the World Cup of Hockey in scintillating fashion in Montreal. And, you know, we're working on, that was the last championship for a senior men's team in our country. We got to do something about changing that, I guess. But Walt, welcome. Glad to have you, and cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me, Fish. It's always a pleasure to be talking to you and AJ. So looking forward to a great evening.
Well, hockey's filled with nicknames, of course, and you hear Fish. I'm Dave Fisher. You can figure out how Fish came about. Just short my last name, pretty easy. Probably those of you out there joining us know Keith Tkachuk as Walt. You hear him called Walt all the time, and I'm not sure how many people know the story. But Walt, Big Walt, what's behind the nickname?
Well, you know what? Obviously, coming in the league, a name like Tkachuk, that's not a common name, I guess. And there was a New York Ranger player named Walt Tkachuk, which is spelled differently, no relation whatsoever. So when I first walked into Winnipeg after the Olympics, I basically walked in. Eddie Olczyk was there, and he basically said, "Hey, Walt, what's up? This is your new nickname. Deal with it." And I said, "Okay." I was a 19-year-old kid, so I was like, "Okay." I was just nervous being there. So, and after that, everybody just called me Walt.
That was it. Wow, Eddie Olczyk.
Very simple. I just did what I was told. This is your nickname. I said, "Okay." May I have another?
Oh, I love it. Well, and AJ is not your given name. What's behind the name?
Well, AJ stands for Allison Jamie, which is my given name. Legally, I am actually now Allison Jamie Malesko Griswold. I took my husband's name legally, so it's quite a mouthful. When I was in 4th grade, I had been playing hockey. I'd been playing boys hockey at the time. There were no other options. It's wonderful now to see the growth in the girls' game, growth in the boys' game, just in general. But at the time, I was the only girl playing as far as the eye could see, and I had a braid down my back, and I was targeted. And I didn't like standing out that way. I didn't like, I already had to dress outside the girls' room, and I had to, do all these other things. So I cut my hair really short and I changed my name to AJ. I came home from school one day and I said, Mom and Dad, my name's AJ. And my parents sort of looked at me and thought, this will never stick. This won't work. But they let me run with it, to their credit. And it did. And so the Alice, I was actually had gone by Jamie for a long time, which the irony, of course, is that that's an androgynous name, but we won't go into the smarts of a third or fourth grader at the time. And I now have a daughter named Jamie, so I've been able to use that name, and so it's just one of those things that stuck, and that's really been my only nickname. But I go by AJ, so I don't even think of it as a nickname. I think of it as my name.
Yeah.
But Malesko is such a mouthful that there's no way that you can make a nickname out of that. So stick with AJ. It's easy. Two letters.
Yeah, between the two of you, Chuck and Malesko. It's quite a mouthful. Well, we're gonna have some fun. It's gonna be interactive. We've selected some lucky folks to join us up front here and ask questions. We've got lots of prizes to give away too as we go along. And we're here having a few beverages. It seems like we should have a toast as we get started here. AJ, you got anything for us?
I do. Happy Veterans Day, November 11th. Let's cheers to the veterans, the servicemen and women who serve this country, who keep us safe. And you know what? We're all a part of Team USA, but Team USA is bigger than those of us that put on hockey gear. So cheers to them. Cheers to you, Fish, and cheers to everybody who's in on this Zoom call.
Awesome. I'll drink to that. Cheers, everybody. Well, let's get into our guests that are with us here to ask some questions, and I'm going to invite Jeff Knight to come up front with us here to get us started. And Jeff is down in the great state of Alabama. And
I
Jeff,
am.
welcome on in.
And I'm home now.
You're home?
Yeah.
Good. We were out and about earlier here just before we came on live. Jeff was still making his way home. But Jeff, cheers to you, and thanks for being part of this. And go ahead and fire away with any questions you might have for AJ or Keith.
Yeah, I sent one in earlier, and the biggest question I have, not to leave AJ out, was for Keith. I got two young boys down here. We're actually getting ready for hockey tonight for Learn to Play. And, what Keith, with having the career that you did and coming up, and then your boys make it to the league. Can you go into like what went into that? And then I can't even imagine what that feeling is to see your boys come up and just make it to the big league.
Yeah, it's not a better feeling to actually sit down and after your career is over and you watch your sons play the game they love to play. But back when they first started, you weren't thinking of that. They played the game because they loved the game. They practiced because they wanted to practice. And the good thing is they played other sports, which I think is really important. The game has changed when I first came up to what it is now. It's completely changed. There's so much skill, and these kids work at it. They're outside, they're playing on the driveway, they're stick handling, they're shooting pucks, they're playing one-on-one against each other. So, it was fun. It was fun. It was fun to be able to coach them and be around them, see them going through that stuff. But I'm telling you, it's the best time of your life right now to be able to take your kids to the rink, because before you know it, they're out of the house. So I think you got to cherish this time, be positive with them, keep, if they want to keep doing it, keep going and taking them, and, let them play other sports too, besides hockey. I think like AJ, she played field hockey, which is amazing. All that stuff ties into the game of hockey and a team sport. So I think it's important, but enjoy this moment with your boys, because it goes by fast. And, if they love the game, watch hockey, watch, the highlights and all that stuff. And who knows what it'll take you. The game itself in USA hockey is grown. And it's not just in your typical Massachusetts, Minnesota, and Michigan it's everywhere. You're going to see, you got Alabama and Huntsville down there. There's so many opportunities for these kids to go, both men, both boys and girls. So enjoy this moment, because I'm telling you, it goes by fast.
Well, I got to say, I loved seeing you at the All-Star game with your boys participating out there and stuff. That sure was something to see.
That was the best thing that's happened to us in 2020. That's for sure.
So, and I don't want to leave AJ out, but AJ, just say real quick so that you guys can move on to the next person. But I mean, just seeing you break those glass ceilings, over the NHL season, to hear you commenting on games has been very refreshing, especially as I have a daughter who I tried to get to play hockey. She wants to figure skate, but
Hey, that's
yeah,
awesome too. And you know what?
yeah,
Thank you for including me. Absolutely. We've got a long list here. I love you. That was a great question for Walt. I think that everybody wants to know about that. I've got 4 kids and they all play hockey and I love, love, love watching them play. I love participating as a coach. I love participating or watching as a parent. To your point too, I did play a lot of sports. I did play field hockey. Walt, I think your daughter is a good field hockey player, isn't she?
He's
She's a,
committed to Virginia, so we're looking forward.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, you know what, Jeff, I think that's awesome. If your daughter wants to get on the ice and figure skate. By the way, I started on figure skates.
right,
That's what I mean, that's what girls did back then. They didn't give us hockey skates. They gave us the white skates and the toe pick. And I was actually a decent figure. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't very graceful, but I could do all the jumps. And then I decided I wanted to move over to hockey. But I will say my figure skating background gave me a leg up when I did start playing hockey. So you know what? If they find something they love, it doesn't matter if it's not hockey.
right,
If they're passionate about it and they're having fun, it's awesome.
definitely. Well, thank you guys both so much.
Jeff,
Right.
big
Sure.
news down there in Alabama today on the college front we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah, UAH. We just a little while back we were able to grassroots some money to save our program that they were going to shut it down after the pandemic, just couldn't afford to do it, and we were able to raise enough money to bring it back up. We had some big contributions from some big guys, including Cam Talbot. I think he's with the Wild right now. A lot of people got involved and saved the only NCAA Division I program down here. So
Yeah, good news. Well, congratulations on that. We're happy to see that in the hockey family. And
Hey,
17.
Fish. Matthew wants to say hello. What's up, guys? How you doing?
hey, what's up, man?
He's just asking about you.
How are you?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Anything for Matthew?
Well,
Hey,
I like that people would ask Keith about Matthew. So Matthew, stick around. All the
Oh,
questions.
no,
are
no
down-
chance. I can't be here for
down
that.
here.
I don't want to ruin your guys' video. I just wanted to say hi and enjoy this talk with Dad. He doesn't shut up around the house, so I hope he doesn't shut up for you guys here.
You, Matthew. Well, that was nice. Where's
Yeah.
Brady at? Taryn?
Brady's out of town, so he can't make a cameo.
All right. Well, good to see. Hey, you never know what you're going to get on these things, Jeff. And we really appreciate you being part of the best part of USA Hockey and your kids. We wish you the best. And we've got prizes to give away, but certainly all the people that are here asking questions, you're going to get something in the mail too. So thanks for being with us and have fun with your kids on the ice. So,
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for what you do.
Take care.
Take care. Oh, that's fun. And we talk about the 3Ms, right? Minnesota, Mass, Michigan, Alabama. Isn't that great? Huh? Who would have thought?
I think it's great for hockey. Great for hockey.
Well, we got some prizes to give away throughout the night. And if you hear your name being called, something is coming in the mail. And there's all kinds of things. I mean, you could get a jersey like this. Who knows? You could get a hoodie. You could get a hat, a puck, a T-shirt. I don't know. There's all kinds of things that we have that we'll be sending out randomly. So our first group of giveaways, and if I butcher the names, I apologize. I'm going to do the best I can. But if Gerald Dewhurst, Marcel Nardo, Noah Reister, Scott Phelan, and Nikolai Giavorkin, I think is how I could have had that wrong. Nikolai, I apologize, but I did my best. But you're our first group of winners here tonight on this USA Hockey Virtual Happy Hour powered by Labatt Blue. And what Labatt does so many great things, especially on the adult side of the game. And, one of the signature events every year at USA Hockey is the Labatt Blue USA Hockey Pond Hockey National Championships up in Eagle River, Wisconsin. I don't know how many of you out there that are part of this have ever been up and played in it. Have ever been up to Eagle River. It's one of the most magical scenes that you could ever see. And it takes us back to our roots of the game on the pond. Have you, Walt, AJ, have you guys been up to Eagle River? You play on the pond a lot growing up?
I grew up in Massachusetts, so we didn't have a lot of ponds where I grew up right in Boston. So it wasn't much.
No.
It's funny actually. I grew up in Connecticut, and I grew up in an outdoor winter club, the New Canaan Winter Club, and right next door was the Harding Pond. that we would skate at, and we would. I mean, it's Connecticut, so it wasn't a long season that we had the pond. But I still remember there was a chain that said pond open or pond closed, and when it would open up, we'd be so excited, and we'd leave from practice, we'd get to go down there, and lost a lot of pucks into the pond, the banks of the pond. But I will say, pond hockey to me, I love it. I absolutely love it.
I have a feeling Kathy Muller, who we're going to get to in a minute, was played pond hockey for some reason. I guess we'll see. But you guys, we should get you up to Eagle River sometime.
Sign me up.
The 15th anniversary of that tournament this past season. We couldn't do it on the pond. There's been 2 times we've had to move it to the world famous Derby track because just the weather conditions, the safety element, the pond wasn't frozen enough. But oh, it is so cool. You guys would love it, and I know our audience of adults out there love it. Those that have partaken in it. Speaking of Kathy Muller, she's from, I believe, Alton Bay, New Hampshire. Kathy, we're going to invite you. There she is. Hey, Kathy.
Hi.
Welcome. Glad to have you here with us too. And the stage is yours. Take it away and ask the questions as many as you'd like. Go right ahead.
So first of all, yes, I go to pond hockey. I think I've been there all but the first 2 years.
Wow.
Planning to go this year. Hopefully COVID lets us do that. Okay. So AJ, I just want to say congratulations on all your accomplishments. You have many firsts that a lot of young women are looking up to you for many years. This really shows how this great sport of hockey has affected your life and made such a huge impact on your life and your career. So you started in it really young, and it just went right through your life into now time, and your children, right? So I do have a couple of questions. Stop me if I run out of time. The first one is, as a member of the first ever women's Olympic hockey team, can you give us an idea what it was like in order for you to make that team? What was the process that you had to go through just to try and make that spot on the team?
Well, Kathy, I'll tell you one thing, that if somebody's going to get cut off tonight, it's going to be me. Fish will give me the hook before he gives anybody else the hook. I talk a lot, and it's wonderful that I found a job that I get paid to talk. So Fish will give me the little, the sign when I go on too long. But you're absolutely right. The honor, and it was incredible to be a part of the first ever women's Olympic team in 1998. We played in Nagano, Japan. We brought home the first ever gold medal. No one can ever take that away from us. I'm forever and immensely proud of that. The process to make it was interesting. So at the time, USA Hockey had sort of a pool of talent, and we would come in for camps in August, either at one point it was in St. Cloud, Minnesota, then it was in Lake Placid, New York, which is where the tryouts were in 97 in August. They brought in a lot of us. It was over 100 women, and they whittled it down to 25 that week. And we then traveled around as the pre-Olympic team, 25 of us, and the final 5 cuts were made Christmas time, right before Christmas of 97. So it was tough because you travel around with those people that are part of your team, and then you have to say goodbye to them. Throughout that tour, though, we actually had open tryouts. So when we traveled around the country, we had open tryouts because women's hockey was so new. USA Hockey and our coach, Ben Smith, felt like they could find somebody that they just didn't know about. We had this pool, but so we had, women come in and try out with us, and nobody on our team, nobody from those tryouts ultimately made the team, but it was wonderful to see women playing in all different corners of the country and come out and skate with us. They have a couple practices. So that was really incredible. I think what was amazingly unique that people don't think about is that we had 20 women on that team, and all of us were rookies. And it's hard to wrap your head around that. But when you have a team, you have veterans, you have people who've been there before, people that can pave the way, can lead, can take you under their wing, or just tell you what to expect, what the opening ceremonies are going to be like, what to pack, what this is going to be like, what it's going to feel like to practice there. And none of us had any idea about any of that. Our captain was Cami Granato, a famous hockey family. So she was probably the best person for us because her brother Tony had played in the Olympics, and she gave us little tidbits. Oh, good.
I talked to him this afternoon. He said to say hi to you too.
Oh, good. But so, I think the process was nerve-wracking because nobody was a sure thing. Nobody felt like they had their foot in the door. And when the time came and Coach Smith was reading that list, and that's what he did, by the way, he called us all in, and sometimes he read it alphabetically, sometimes he read it by position. So you're sitting there trying to do math in your head, which is just never a good thing when you have that much anxiety going on. So it was really hard, and you train so hard with these women to say goodbye and see them leave was heartbreaking. But yet at the same time, you're ecstatic that you made the team. So overall, it was something I'm proud of, and I hope I answered your question. But I could go on and on, but we'll go on to your next question.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good answer. And then just really quickly, what were your feelings when you won that gold?
Oh man, it has been over 22 years, and I still have not figured out how to put it into words, but it was so incredible. And it was something that is, that the weight of the medal going around your neck was just, I get chills just describing it. And they gave us the medals on the ice. And we then had a medal ceremony later on, but on the ice, we left the ice, went into the locker room, had a little celebration, came back on the ice and had the whole celebration. And standing there, we were holding hands, and I've seen some videos of it since then. And there was a lot of it I don't remember. I don't remember doing some of the things we did, but I do remember the feeling of it. And I remember just my whole family was there, and they weren't able to come on the ice, but they were right up on the glass. And it was something that I will share with those 19 teammates. No matter what happens, it's something that we share, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't have a good answer to
imagine,
that question, but it's a good question.
I imagine it would have been. And, as I've said already, Fish, maybe you remember when I was out there in Colorado, I said that your hockey teammates become your extended family, right?
It's true.
And you get really close with them. And the last question I'll ask you, we can move on, is were you disappointed when you did not make it on the picture? You could not be part of the picture on the Wheaties box.
Well, so our team made the Wheaties box, and for any athlete, that is the pinnacle in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously, winning the gold medal was more important, but being on a Wheaties box was so iconic. And for me, I wasn't able to be on it because of my NCAA regulations. I had 1 year left at Harvard, and I went back and played. And after the Wheaties box, a lot of people asked me. They said, "What if you go back and you blow your knee out in the first game, and you've missed being on the Wheaties box?" And there were all those risks, all those question marks. And yes, I was very disappointed. My grandmother, who is no longer with us, was so excited about the Wheaties box. She bought all of the ones in her store up in Hanover, New Hampshire. She'll come home and find that she could not find me in the picture and did not understand it. So I had to explain it to her. There it is. There are 5 of us on my team that aren't out there. Angela Ruggiero, Hockey Hall of Famer. Many of you probably know her. She was about to be a freshman at Harvard, so we played together. Tara Mounsey was going back to Brown. Sarah DaCosta was going back to Providence. And who else am I missing? Jenny Potter was going to Minnesota. So there were a couple of us that couldn't be on it. And there were a couple of things with the NCAA that were challenging. I wasn't able to do some things that my teammates were. That was frustrating at the time because it felt arbitrary. It felt like it wasn't a violation, but I also understand that the NCAA is keeping college sports uniform and keeping it safe. So I respect what they're doing, but at the time it was frustrating. But you know what? I got to win a gold medal with my teammates. So I know I'm a part of that team, whether I'm on the Wheaties box or not.
Right. Maybe one day the 5 of you can get together and there's places you can get that done.
That nobody would buy that. Nobody would buy an old timers Wheaties box, but I appreciate the thought.
And Keith, just one quick question for you. I didn't have this on my list. Sorry, I added it. What's the favorite NHL team you've played for?
Oh, that'd be tough. I played for some pretty good ones, but my home is in St. Louis now, and I'm a St. Louis Blue, thick and thin. So I love it. I love it here. It's my favorite team. But I met a lot of great people around the world, not just, on all my teams from different countries. So I can't say, but I love living in St. Louis now, even though I'm from Boston and I did grow up a Boston Bruin fan.
Kathy, I thought you were going to ask who his favorite child was, but maybe somebody else can ask that.
My daughter, Erin.
That was a quick response there. Kathy, your question to AJ about and AJ's answer about to build up to the Olympics. I'd like to ask Walt kind of the same thing. It's interesting in your career. You went through the pre-Olympic tour like AJ did, kind of on a with the national team, and played a series of games in the lead up to '92, right? Then '94, the Olympics shifted to the winter, and that's when the summer and winter were in first and separate years. '94, you didn't play. Then '98, you were back in, but that's when the NHL got in. So it was a much different experience. So like the 91, 92, and Kathy's question about making the team and how you found out and all that. How did that all play out?
Well, like AJ said, like it's like you go and you try out with. I'm assuming it was more than 100 guys at the men's level. You up at St. Cloud, and I was 18 years old, and I wasn't expecting to either make it past that stage and then go back to school. But I got lucky. I made it, and then they didn't that back then. They took like 30 to 40 guys, and you traveled with the U.S. national team after the St. Cloud, whatever it's called, games. And you played that's the year we played all the American National Hockey League teams. And you played Team Canada but like AJ said, every 2 weeks for us, they would cut guys and then they would bring in some guys in here and there. And that's when they brought in some pros who were playing over Europe to come play. And it was stressful. It was awful. At the same time, it was exciting because, every month that goes by, you're still there. It gives you hope to make the team. And, but then when you, like AJ said, when you get to December and then January, the team wasn't picked yet. And now people are trying to make arrangements. And, there's guys here and there getting cut. And then finally at the end, right before we actually went over to France, they finally cut the last two guys, which was the most difficult thing, you've ever seen in your entire life. You've gone all year with the same guys, battling guys in and out, and then to go through that. And then for me personally, to make that, it was for an 18-year-old kid, was the biggest thrill of my life at that point. And once I did that, I wasn't going back to school. I was going to Winnipeg after that. So, but it was a heck of an experience. But it was stressful. I mean, you have no money. You're playing with guys that are like 7, 8 years old, and you're possibly 10 years old, and you're like,
Wow.
You're underage. You can't rent a car. You can't drink. You're barely holding on. It was, and you're flying commercial, going airport to airport. It was a grind, but I loved it, every single minute of it.
Oh, good.
How'd you find out?
I was roommates, unfortunately, who was one of my closest friends, Billy Guerin, who is now the general manager of Minnesota Wild and one of the best guys I've ever played with and a great hockey player. We were sitting in our room just waiting because we had a 5:00 flight that evening out of Washington, D.C. to go to Europe. And the phone rang and he answered, and it was the coach and said, "Come on up to my room." And I knew right there was, me and Bill looked at each other, and then he came back down 15 minutes later. We just hugged it out, had a few tears, and he went on his way, and then we went.
Oh, wow.
It sucked. It really did, losing a friend like that.
Yeah.
It really
That'd
was
be hard.
one of my close. It was either him or I. I think they flipped a coin, to be honest with you.
Oh boy.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Kathy, you got anything else?
No, I'll let somebody else have a chance. If you have leftover time, maybe I'll come up with a couple more questions.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate it. We'll let you go for now. And
Thank
thanks
you so much.
Really appreciate you being part of this. And, some more prizes to give away. And if you hear your name, of course, as I mentioned earlier, in case you came in late, you'll be getting something in the mail, a random gift, prize, whatever you want to call it, ranging from hats, jerseys, hoodies, pucks, whatever it might be. Lisa Bernstein, or Stein. Lisa, congratulations. Kenneth Eberly, Ryan Karoka, Joe Cabot, and Mark Asado. Congratulations to all of you, and thanks for thanks everybody for being the best part of USA Hockey. We appreciate you.
Hey, Chris, I'm gonna ask AJ a question. How nervous were you your first broadcast?
Oh, so nervous. So much more nervous than I ever was to play the sport of hockey. I had no experience. I was 7 months pregnant. I was in Torino. You were playing, but I can't even tell you. The night before, I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't take anything to help me sleep because I was pregnant. So I woke up the next day and I had a game with Doc. It was a women's game. It was Germany against, I want to say it was Germany against Switzerland, maybe. And I just kept telling myself, this game is on at like 3 a.m. at home. It's not Team USA playing. No one's watching it. I kept telling myself that. And then, of course, after that, I get all these texts from all my friends. Everybody I know turns on the TV because they know I'm on. And I was so nervous. But I will say, Doc Emmerich, I mean, if you're going to start It's tough to start at the top, though. He is the best guy ever. He's so good at his job, and he made it so easy, so conversational, and we went through. But I was nervous.
Yeah, I did the radio a couple times, and I was like, "Holy moly, I couldn't do this." It's hard. It's really
It's
is.
hard, and then then you get used to it, and you get into it, and then when I started doing the NHL and the playoffs, it gets everything you do is a little different. I was actually in St. Louis at the All-Star game last year. Kenny Albert and I were doing the digital side of it, so I was there on site when I got to watch you guys put on your little show. So that was really fun. I wasn't actually nervous for that one. I was more nervous for you guys. I thought maybe you might pull a muscle, but you seem to be okay.
I think the kids were hoping I did something like that. And I was nervous too, trust me.
I think I was most nervous when Holly was upstairs trying to shoot.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, that was.
People have no idea though on the television front, AJ, right? I mean, you're talking on the air, giving your thoughts, and you can have a director talking in your ear. Is that how it goes?
So the producer is talking in your ear. So typically it depends where I am. So I'm either sitting up top and I'll sit next to Doc, or I'll sit next to Kenny Albert, or I'm down in between the benches, which I'm now doing more and more, which I like both of them equally. They're very different. When you're sitting next to somebody, it's pretty easy because you can gesture to each other. You can sort of use body language. But the hardest part, you're absolutely right, Fish, is you've got your headset on and the producer is constantly talking to you and telling you things like when the commercial's coming, what replays are coming, different things that are coming at you. And actually that first game I did, I will never forget I was talking about a play, and the producer started telling me something about what he was going to pull up a replay based on what I was talking about. And he was telling me that. And so I stopped talking because he's talking. So it's sort of human nature. If somebody starts talking, you stop talking. And he kept saying, what are you doing? Start talking. So I sort of finished my thought, and we went to commercial break. And I said, but you were talking. He said, they can't hear me talking. You have to keep talking. So it was actually a good preparation for parenthood. I thought I started to compartmentalize little things. I'd be told something, I could shelve it in part of my brain, finish my thought, and then go back and pull it out and try to source through what they were telling me. And it's a lesson in multitasking, and everybody's a little different. Every producer is a little different, how they talk to you, and how much me as an analyst, I can talk back to them and tell them what I want to see, when I want to, if I have a replay coming in, I want to see it from a certain place. From the breakout, for example, that's where the play started, and that's what created the scoring opportunity. Then I can go back and tell them that. So there is a ton of communication going on behind the scenes that people don't see, which is good, and you get used to it. But it certainly is. The other thing that's funny is you have a stats guy that's on the other side of the play-by-play, and he or she is giving you information. And the first time that he gave me something, I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's pretty good information. And I put it down and I didn't use it. And at the next commercial break, he said, why didn't you use that? Was a perfect stat. And I said, but that was your stat. I don't want to steal it from you. And he looked at me like, you are such an idiot. You have the microphone. I don't. My job is to give it to you so you can say it. And I was like, oh, and it goes back to being a team player, right? You never take credit for other people's jobs. But I think that's one of the things I love about broadcasting is that it isn't, even though you guys at home see me, you see Kenny, you see Doc, you see whomever it is that we're on camera, there is a huge number of people behind the scenes that are making that broadcast happen. And that's the most fun part. As a team, you get together, a production meeting, and you try to put on a good show.
Awesome. Well, Raymond, we're going to bring you here in just a minute, so stand by. But I want to just go back and forth. You guys have there's a huge laundry list of great players you both played with. I'm just going to bounce back and forth here between the two of you, give you a name and ask you just a word or a thought on the player. Walt, start with you, Chris Chelios.
The Godfather, I call him. He's probably one of the most unbelievable teammates I've ever played with, both on and off the ice. I think he weighs about $165, 70. He's in great shape. He works at his game. He cares about his teammates. He wants to help his teammates. And by God, he played a long, long time. And before I actually got to know him playing Olympics, him and I would battle each other. I think it was, Winnipeg versus Chicago. I think he got me in a headlock one time. I couldn't breathe. After that, we became best friends. But, he's not the biggest guy, but he plays big. And but as a person, one of the best captains I ever played for. What a tremendous, tremendous person who cares about everybody else. And he's a leader and he's a winner.
Awesome. You mentioned this name before, AJ, Angela Ruggiero.
I would just say Hall of Famer, and I don't mean that because of the Hockey Hall of Fame, just as a person, as a teammate, as a friend. She was a beast to play with. I loved having her on my team, and I'm so glad I never had to play against her because we played together in college and on the national team. And she has done so much for anybody. She's created her own company now in sports innovation. She lives about 4 miles from me. They have 2 kids, so I never see her, but 2 little kids, babies. But she is Hall of Famer in every sense of the word.
Well, how about Brett Hull?
Interesting. You never know what you're going to get from Brett Hull, but obviously one of the best goal scorers ever to play the game. Underrated passer, can shoot the puck better than anybody, can score from anywhere on the ice, makes other players better around him. I think he's good for the game. He speaks his mind. He's not afraid of anything. And he's one of the greatest players ever playing in St. Louis. I see his banner every day when I'm down the rink. Great guy. I see him on the great golfer too, by the way. But he's one of the best goal scorers ever to play the game. Scored the big goal for us in Montreal again in the World Cup to tie the game. So, and they didn't like him up there in Canada very much.
No, they didn't. That's fine with us here in the U.S. AJ, you mentioned her already too, Cami Granado.
You asked us for one-word answers, and we're not keeping to that our end of the bargain. But for her, it's easy. Captain. Oh, captain, my captain. She is a tremendous leader, ambassador, very soft-spoken, but you listen to her. No matter what she says, you listen to her, and she's funny. There's different sides to her personality, but at the end of the day, people listen to her and they follow her where she leads. I'm so excited for her as the first female scout with the new Seattle Kraken.
Awesome. A couple more each. Walt, how about Mike Modano?
He changed the game of speed, that kid, for USA. I mean, it's amazing watching him play and how well he skated. And he was one of the best skaters in the NHL at that time and probably still is. Phenomenal athlete. I mean, he's so skilled and combination of skill and speed. I got the opportunity to play with him in the World Cup, and it was unbelievable. Until you see him play, you played against him, but until you play with him, you realize how good he is. Great guy too.
Karin Bai, AJ.
Oh gosh, that's a tough one for me. There is so much to say. One word for Karin Bai. Teammate. She and I both did a little bit of forward and defense, so we went back and forth under Coach Smith's regime. And she worked her tail off. I was about to say a different word, but are we allowed to swear on this? I don't know. Anyway, she worked really, really hard. She was incredibly strong. She had our backs, whatever we did, whatever was going on. So, and she's still a great friend, lives out in Minnesota, and she's awesome.
All right, last one for each of you. Somebody that got their career cut maybe a little bit short. Walt, Pat LaFontaine.
Patty, yep. Patty was one of those guys that, I didn't know very well until I got to play with him in the World Cup. One of the nicest people I've ever met. Very, professional, good character guy, very quiet, unassuming. He just goes about his business. He had to do a lot of babysitting with me and Billy Guerin during that World Cup, but obviously world-class player, what he's done for the game, both on and off the ice. Hall of Famer, just a great person. You can see him doing well in the future, the way he acts, the way he, carries himself. But he's a true character guy and one of the nicest guys I ever played with.
And AJ, someone that's doing a lot of coaching, had a great career playing, Katie King.
Oh, Kinger. Big Train. That's what we called her. Big Train, left wing. She came down. When I switched over to defense, she would come down. I knew exactly what she was going to do every time. She was going to take me wide, and I couldn't stop her. And she's the best. She also has the most phenomenal laugh that you have ever heard. And all you want to do is make her laugh, and you want to hear it because she is, she laughs at everything. And so she makes you feel like you're the funniest person in the world, but then you realize she's laughing at everybody. She was a great teammate, great in the locker room, worked her tail off, and everything you hear about her is spot on.
A great coaching career at Boston College, and coached the women's team there and had so much success. We look forward to seeing what happens.
And I will say she coaches with a teammate of mine from the Salt Lake games, Courtney Kennedy. And I don't know how on earth they get those players to do anything, because the two of them make me laugh so hard I almost pee my pants. So I honestly, they've had tremendous success there, but I don't know how they take them seriously, because they're two of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. But they're doing something right.
Yeah, they sure are. No doubt about that. Raymond, sorry to keep you waiting. Let's bring you in here. Oh, hey.
He had to go. I'm actually Sharon. I'm his wife, so I'm the fill-in.
Oh, hi, Sharon. Where are you?
Sorry.
Where are you, Sharon?
New York.
New York. Where at New York?
It's Garnerville, New York. It's called. Are you familiar with the Bear Mountain area or West Point?
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
It's not too far from there.
Well, gosh, thanks for being on and welcome. And
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take it away.
I have two questions, actually, both kind of general questions. The first one is, you guys obviously have to work so hard to get where you are. I mean, kids today, like, everybody wants to make it. Everybody wants to go to the NHL. And, we're living in some crazy times. What advice would you give to the seniors, especially now, that are expecting this to be, or wanting this to be, the greatest year of their lives, getting ready to go to college and hoping that scouts and, people are looking at them, and it's kind of sad, but it doesn't really look like that's going to happen this year.
Wow. Walt, you got a senior, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, there's a lot that's going on in different parts of the U.S. right now, and it's frustrating. It really is. But this is the time we're living in, and there's nothing we can do about it. If you're able to play, my daughter actually got to play field hockey, but there was serious restrictions, and luckily the kids have time on their side if they want to play sports. So it's a frustrating part for everybody right now. I mean, I don't know what else we can do, and hopefully within a few months we can get things back on track, and kids can finish their seasons, whether they start later, and try to find a way and to be able to have a chance to move on. I mean, this affects everybody. This affects senior in high school, senior in college. There's a logjam freshmen that have just went, and it's frustrating. And I just hope we get through this, and I know we will get through this, and everything will get back to normal. But we're just gonna have to be patient, take care of your school if you're still in school, work hard, and if you do those things and keep working at it, there's no excuse for you not to go out in the driveway and whatever sport you play and work at it. And most kids are doing online classes or virtual, so there's a lot of time on your hands. But be patient. When it's time to get ready to go full bore, it'll happen.
Finley,
What I would,
yeah,
what's that?
Finley's what, sophomore?
Junior.
Junior. Ooh.
So I got 4 kids, and my oldest daughter is a junior, and she is talking to coaches about playing lacrosse in college. So I can understand it as a parent, because she lost her sophomore season for lacrosse. They, everything shut down in the spring, and then she lost this past summer for recruiting tournaments, which is considered sort of the big recruiting for that age group. And my refrain to her was, everybody of the class of 2022 is in the same boat. And she finally came back to me and said, I know, and it's a sinking boat. It's a terrible boat to be in. And, she sort of kept coming back to me at that. And it is really, really difficult. And it's hard to keep your head up and understand that this is obviously bigger. This is a global pandemic. We're all trying to do what we can to keep the world safe and move beyond this. And then at the same time, understand that in a very small microcosm of it, we're trying to also help our families and our children, and understand, my other daughter is a freshman at a school around here called Nobles, that she was really excited about going, and they just announced they're not going to have a hockey season, and that's her first love. So it's really disappointing. She's a freshman, so she has plenty of time, but it's still just heartbreaking for these kids who love sports and they want to go out. And how do they stay motivated? Those are great questions. What do they do? And some of it is to, while saying, go out in the driveway, and whether you're a hockey player, shoot pucks, or get a pitch back if you're a lacrosse player, or you're, stay in shape and you do these things. But it's hard to do that day in and day out, and finding somebody that you can do it outside. And as the weather gets colder, it's going to be challenging. And I keep saying, somebody is always worse off than you. And my daughter will actually say the seniors last year had it worse. because they lost their whole senior spring and now they're losing the beginning of their freshman year. So I try to keep it in perspective that way, that yes, some people are in a better position than you, but there's always somebody that's worse. So there's nothing you can do but put one foot in front of the other, try to contact coaches if that's the position you're in, keep working hard, doing what you can do. And that's, I mean, it feels like a dry message because it gets old when you're talking to teenagers, but at the same time, it's all we have.
That's true.
Sharon.
The teenagers just don't want to hear it.
Sharon, Sharon, do they have
Yes.
it? Yeah. Okay, I didn't want to screw that. I thought you
That's
said,
okay.
Sharon, you're in New York, right? Yeah. you
Yes.
said- Yeah. And New York, of course, has one of the greatest places in hockey history in your state. And we always have one of our big Labatt adult classics up in Lake Placid. New York.
Yes.
And have you ever been there?
Yes, we actually, the last couple of years, we've done tournaments up there. That's amazing. That was the craziest experience ever. The kids got to play on the rink, and I mean, it's like nothing you could ever imagine.
So Sharon, I actually took my daughter up there for a tournament 2 years ago. She was a U12, and as a coach, I went up there. I was really excited because we lived up there, and all the parents were in awe, and they
Yes.
acted like you just did. This is amazing. This is amazing. It made me realize we trained up there for so long that I took it for granted because that Herb Brooks Arena is Olympic size, as it should be. Skating sprints on that rink stinks. So I hated it. And all these parents are walking around saying like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I thought, you know what? This is good for me. I lived here. I didn't appreciate it. It is an amazing facility. It's pretty cool, the history there.
Isn't
Yes.
it nuts to think that 2 Olympic Games were conducted in that little village by today's standard? Just go. Well, you've been up to Lake Placid?
Yeah, I actually was training up there with the '92 national team, but I was also up there when I was a 16-year-old team, a 17-year-old team for USA. When we trained out in Colorado Springs, we actually had our games at Lake Placid, and walking in there. And one of the reasons why I played hockey is because of the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team. I mean, what they went through. You look at the girls that are playing now. For me, the 80 Olympic team was for me, and I'm sure the women's hockey, which is incredible here in St. Louis, by the way. A lot of those girls, grew up watching the '98 teams, and were one in Nagano. So it's important to have history on our side, and USA has been great. But Lake Placid, when I walked into that building, who didn't want to be, Mike Rusignoni scoring that big goal? That's dreamt of your whole life, and it's amazing that they beat a bunch of professionals like that.
It's
Sharon.
definitely, it's an amazing town too. It's so nice there. It really is beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. I can't believe they fit all those people there in that town. That's crazy, but it's awesome. Part of history.
Hardly changed. I mean, they put a new scoreboard in finally, I think just a little over a year ago. We have one side of the panel here at the new Olympic and Paralympic Museum here in Colorado Springs. I know one side of the panel is up at the museum in Lake Placid, and I'm not sure where the other 2 sides are, but pretty much the same though. You go back in the locker rooms, and I mean, AJ, you lived in there for quite a long time, but which is just great, right? History stands.
Hopefully they upgraded them, Fish. AJ?
A little, not a lot.
I don't think so. They like to keep. They've named them. They've given them names now, but they look the same inside.
Sharon, I know you have another question. Will you just stay with us? I want to just
Sure.
I want to show this before we run out of time, because I think it's just kind of fun. Everybody will enjoy this. Just bear with me here, and let me turn up. AJ,
There we go.
Not too many people buy buses.
I saw that.
But AJ, you and your husband Jason bought a bus.
we did, and actually that's one of my sons, Sam, coming off the bus. He's a goalie, if you can believe it. I don't know what I did to tick off the hockey gods, but I'm a goalie mom of all things. So this is the inside of our bus. We've named our bus MFJ, which stands for Mandatory Family Joy. We have totally gutted the inside and created an RV, which there's the back of it. That table actually goes down, and that can become a big bed. And behind that wall is what we call the locker room, where we take their teams to hockey tournaments and things. So you can load up the hockey bags. And all, the 6 of us, my husband and my 4 kids, we can all sleep on there. By the way, the outside is painted winter camo, which is how it came. We did not paint it. We thought we were going to paint it, and now it's sort of taken on a life of its own. So it is actually parked just over my shoulder, but it is dark here in Boston, Massachusetts, so I can't show it to you. But it is the bane of my teenage daughter's existence. They think it is the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to them. Although that's pretty good. I think I'm winning if that's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to them. But it is the pictures you were showing, Fish, we brought it down. I work on the Islanders broadcast for MSG, so we brought it down and we did a whole MSG show during the tailgate for the crazy Islander fans at the Nassau Coliseum. So it was pretty fun.
That's hockey, I guess. Yeah, love it.
And there you go. That's right.
What else you have, Sharon? Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I get that in. I thought you'd enjoy it.
I was going to say I did love the bus, except for I kind of thought it was the wrong New York team that you were, supporting over there. We go to the other side.
You know what's interesting is when we drove down for this game, my kids had to take all their Bruins blankets and stow them quickly, so all the Islanders fans didn't see their Bruins blankets. So,
that's funny.
what? I work for the Islanders, so what can I say?
I did have one more question for you, actually, AJ. I was wondering, how did you get into broadcasting? I have a son that's also a freshman, actually. He's 14, and he just loves all the stats and follows everything and all about the broadcasting.
That's a great question. I think for somebody like that, he should ask questions, and he should do as much as he can, and he should watch games and practice, and he can put it into a tape recorder and he can listen to it back and he can do all that stuff. For me, it is not something I dreamed about. And I will say I'm the first person to admit that I was just really lucky. I was very fortunate. There's a woman named Molly Solomon who works at NBC, and she called me in the spring of 2005. So I had retired the year before. I had a baby at home, and she asked me if I had ever thought of broadcasting, and I said yes. I'd never thought of broadcasting, but what of course that's the way you answer. She said, "Would you want to come down and audition for the job in Torino, which is in February of 2006, in about 10 months?" And so I said sure. So they brought me down to Stanford, the NBC studios, which are now brand new, but at the time it was the older studios, and they said you'll call a game from the Salt Lake City Olympics. But I didn't know which game. They said, don't prepare for it. We don't care if you don't know names or stats. Just, you're going to call the game. It doesn't matter. So I get down there and I am nervous. I'm like, I don't know. They haven't told me anything. But I get into this tiny little soundproof booth with Doc Emmerich, of all people, who is now a dear friend of mine. But at the time, I'm like, what on earth are you doing to me? So we get into this booth and they put on the gold medal game, which for anybody who's keeping score, we lost in heartbreaking fashion. And I've never watched that game. I have no interest in watching that game because we lost it. And so they start playing the game and I'm just sweating bullets. I'm sitting there and they told me if I refer to myself, I should refer to myself in the third person. And on the first goal, I didn't even realize that it was totally my fault. I'm like, oh my God, I just can't even, I don't know what to do here. So the first period goes by, she comes in, gives me a couple tips. And so then I'm thinking, now I have to actively take these tips and go into the second period. And thank God they didn't make me call the third period and watch the Canadians celebrate. Sorry. Oh, this is USA Hockey. There are no Canadians on here. Thank God. So no, I didn't have to watch all the Canadians celebrate. And then they, we went through this whole thing. They did this on camera to see how we did. And Doc Emmerich is like 5'6". I'm 5'11". So they put him on this riser to make him taller than me. The whole thing was so awkward and uncomfortable. I shook their hand. I got on the train back to Boston and I called my husband and I said, well, that was the shortest broadcasting career anybody has ever had. And I'm completely sweating. And so then I get home and I literally didn't think about it. And about a month later, I get a call and they asked me if I wanted the job. And she fully admitted, she said, you're rough around the edges, but you've got potential, which was very, very generous of her. But it was one of those things where I don't know to this day who else they auditioned. And I am forever grateful to Molly Solomon and NBC Olympics for giving me that opportunity. I had no idea what I was doing, but they gave me all the tools to be successful. And it's really funny to think back to that day. It was horrifying, the whole experience. But I will say it led me here. And now I've got these amazing opportunities. I get to call Olympic Games. I get to call the NHL. And whenever I talk to future aspiring broadcasters, just talk to people. I know he's 14, so he's young, but whatever he can, look online, see things, call games, practice. It's never too early to start trying. It's fun. It's a really great career to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Sharon, AJ, they'd be happy to talk to him, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thank
Some
you.
some more winners, by the way. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, but Christopher Denninger, Lori Levy, Daniel Larson, Eric Severson, Merv Tenali. You are all winners that were randomly drawn, and so were you, Gary Rozowski, Dan Parker, Andrew Garza, Aaron Schenken, and Brian D. So congratulations to all of you. One quick other share I just wanted to make sure we get in. You talk about the World Cup of Hockey when we had that iconic moment, and that's the bus. And then you take a look at that picture, and then we zoom in on a young Walt, Keith Kachuk. And if you saw son Matthew earlier, and you were with us, you could probably see just a little resemblance there, but in a leadership role in that 96 team. Gosh, well, you haven't changed much, I guess, huh?
Have a nice head of hair back there. Jeez, I don't know what happened. Those are the good old days. That's what happens when you tour with the U.S. team all the time. We had some fun guys.
But
Wait, I have a question for Walt.
yeah,
When
please.
you're watching the game now as a hockey player, as somebody who knows the game, and you're watching your boys play, for A, how critical of your boys are you, and how ticked off do you get at broadcasters who are critical of your boys? Just asking for a friend.
First of all, my wife wants to kill me because I'm too critical. She can't watch a game with me when I'm at home because, when you're watching one kid, you can pick out so many things that you see that are wrong. But at the end of the day, they're playing the toughest game in the world, playing against the best players in the world. They're doing fine. But broadcasters, I don't get mad at them at all because I'm not one of those guys. The only time I get mad is when they play Edmonton because boy, do they hate Matthew up there. So, but other than that, I never get mad at broadcasters. But I am too critical. I got to settle down a little bit because you're watching one player, one kid that day, and you focus on him, and that's hard to do sometimes. But at the end of the day, they're playing and I'm not. So,
Great question. Very great question.
Chantel wants to kick me out of the house, though. But other than that, everything's good.
Well, the USA Hockey Happy Hour powered by Labatt Blue, our first ever virtual happy hour. And we're glad to have everybody that has joined us, including you, Sharon, and the others. Really appreciate it. Let's just end on this, I guess. We have Thanksgiving coming up not too long ahead. Maybe we end with one thing we're all thankful for. And maybe, Sharon, we'll just start with you. You're with us. Go right ahead.
I'm thankful that everybody in my family is healthy. That's the most important thing. Above all the sports, above everything, that everybody's healthy and well.
Well, I know it's been a difficult time for everybody with this pandemic, but I'm very thankful for finally having my whole family together under one roof for a big amount of time. Everybody's healthy, parents, family, friends, and I just wish we could all get on the same page these days. But I'm thankful for my family, and we live in the greatest country in the world.
AJ?
Well, I think that I echo both of those statements, but also here in Massachusetts, we just came out of a 2-week hockey shutdown due to COVID, and I'm thankful that hockey's back. And I'm thankful that through this pandemic, I am much more appreciative of watching my children compete, whether it's in hockey or the other sports they love. I love to watch them play. And I realized during the quarantine that we had that how much I missed it, and being out there and just the simple pleasures of watching them compete and being there and cheering them on is something I'm very thankful for.
Awesome. And we're thankful for all of you. That's for sure. Everybody involved in this great sport and the great hockey family and beyond. And certainly we're thankful for Labatt for sponsoring our activity tonight, being great part of the hockey family. To Jeff, who was on with us earlier, and Kathy, and to you, Sharon, to everybody watching, especially to you, AJ, and you, Keith. Thanks so much for being part of this. Cheers, everybody. Here's to all of you. Have a great night. Happy
Thank you.
early.
Thank you.
Let's play hockey.
Yes.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye. Take care.